Good morning, gentlemen. Wonderful time. It's an overcast sky, raining. I thought I'll make a small video for you all. And a lot of people ask me what's happening as far as the Indian Army is concerned. Are we going to be a global power or not? Well, let's look back at history. And the history is that when Jawaharlal Nehru took over as the Prime Minister of India, he was a person who had no concept of strategy. He had no concept of what is global strategy, no concept that military power is the essence to the strength of a nation. So he neglected the army. And he thought he's going to be a great third world leader who will go all over the world and be respected, till he got a knockout blow from the Chinese in the 1962 war, and that was the end of Nehru. But sadly, Nehru is past, gone. We shouldn't bother about him. But, gentlemen, we must remember that there are other leaders who came after Nehru. There was Shastri, there was Indira Gandhi, there was Rajiv Gandhi. All of them had roughly the same concept. They had no idea to dominate the globe. That is the crux of the issue. Don't want to dominate. We are happy to live in our cocoon, and the net result is India got pilloried by everybody. That's also a fact. And we got no say anywhere in the world. At the same time, the Indian government continues to carry out schemes so that they can cut the defense expenditure on salaries and pensions. Now, if you're going to keep a soldier, a standing army, you've got to pay that army. So this is not going into the minds of the leaders. And despite Narendra Modi having come, I think he's done a lot of damage to the Indian armed forces. You can well imagine what is the state of India in world affairs. Recently there was a Chinese ship, a spy ship, which was going to dock at the Hambantota port in Sri Lanka. Indian government made a lot of noise, protest, this thing, that thing. The Sri Lankans said, okay, we won't let the ship come. But the Chinese put a lot of pressure on Lanka, and ultimately Lanka has allowed the ship there. They haven't bothered about India. So that is the point which I am trying to make. Ultimately, nobody bothers about India. Look at the Chinese. They have banned Ramadan, burqa in the Xinjiang province, and none of the Muslim nations are saying anything. But the OIC keeps on making statements against India on Kashmir, because they know it's a weak country. And now things have been worsened with the Agnipath scheme, where you will have about 30,000 soldiers being released every year into the market without a job. What can you do about it? I am now coming to another report, which has been the Shiketkar Commission, which was headed by a Lieutenant General of the Indian Army. It was set up in 2015 or 16 when Mr. Panikkar was the Defence Minister. The idea was to suggest measures to make the Indian Army more battle worthy. A good idea, wonderful. But if you go through the committee's report, he has recommended, and if you follow in toto, a reduction in the armed forces strength of almost 200,000. That means the force, which is about 12.5 lakhs now, will be reduced to about 10 lakhs. And it beats my mind, how can such a force face a combined force of Pakistan, which has 700,000 soldiers, and the Chinese in their Tibet command have more than 1 million. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. They haven't thought about it. Only thinking how we can keep the expenditure down and cover it up with a lot of paraphernalia, paraphrases, greater efficiency, battle efficiency, tail to teeth ratio, all that. Words are okay, but it doesn't mean anything. As we must remember, the infantry soldier is required to hold the ground and give battle. If you're not going to have them, what the hell are you going to do? Now this committee's recommendations have been accepted by the government, I am told. And they are going to put them into effect. That means a lot of formations, particularly the static formations, are going to be reduced. They will be thinned out. And add to this the Agnipath scheme, which will recruit about 40 to 45,000 every year, out of which about 30,000 will be sent home with the pat on the back, well done, you go home now. And so the burgeoning market, the job market will be affected. Because these soldiers coming out with a 12th class pass, what job are they going to expect? What job can be given to them other than a chowkidar? I had a statement which I read the other day of Mr. Anand Mahindra, the head of the Mahindra and Mahindra. He said that now we will be looking after these soldiers, we will be recruiting them. I want to ask Mr. Mahindra, how many soldiers has he recruited till date? That's number one. And what is the percentage? 10%, 20%, 30%. And this big force of 30,000 will going to come in the market. How many is going to employ? And if he is going to employ, what job is going to give them other than the PN or chowkidar job? These are very difficult questions, gentlemen, but I have to raise them. I have to raise them because India must be a global power. And with this sort of policy which is being put into effect, India will never be a global power. There is insurgency on in Kashmir, even now. In the heart of Srinagar, attacks are taking place. Pakistan doesn't see reason. Pakistan not scared of India. Nobody is scared of India. Sri Lanka scared of India? No. Nepal scared of India? No. Nepal claims Indian territory with brazenly. So what a situation we have reached now. And this report by the Lieutenant General is a nail in the coffin of the Indian Army. The first thing is a change of strategic thinking. The Indian Army and the political leadership must gear up to the fact that they have to fight the battle for the liberation of Tibet. It's a difficult proposition, yes, but not impossible. You have to take it up, fight. You can't just say, well, we'll reduce the budget, we'll reduce the pensions, we'll do this, we'll do that. It's got no meaning, absolutely. The United States doesn't go around reducing budgets. In fact, if you remember Donald Trump when he was president, he increased the defense budget of the American Republic by more than 30%. Now, if we were to have the thinking of Mr. Modi, he should have reduced the budget because, well, not required. We have to be very, very careful in this aspect. And history is witness to the fact that for 1,000 years, India was ruled by foreigners. Right, I think from about the 10th century, when the Muslim invaders came to India and then the British, there was sporadic rule by the Hindus. But basically they were all subjects. They paid the jizya tax, said 3 bags full. But even after 47, Pandit Nehru didn't learn anything and he lost the whole of Tibet as a buffer state. He lost the Aksai Chin. He created a border problem with China. He lost Kashmir. He created a border problem with Pakistan. And overall, he did something very silly like handing over the Cocoa Islands to Burma. I mean, it just beats your imagination that he had no strategic sense. The port of Gwadar was offered to India by the Sultan of Oman, and Nehru said it's so far away. What does it mean, so far away? The British even now are closing islands which are thousands of miles away from the homeland, like St. Helena, Diego Garcia. They're controlling them thousands of miles away. And here he was saying it is so far away. The Nawab of Kalat had offered to join India, opted, and Nehru said, we have no way to accept you. So there has been a negative concept throughout. A negative concept. A negative concept is what has been the bane of India. And afraid Modi also has come up in the same atmosphere. And he's not a soldier, he has no idea. Somebody keeps telling him, we'll have more efficiency, sir, we'll have better teeth to tail ratio, this thing, that thing. And being a gullible man without any knowledge, strategic knowledge, or not having studied Clausewitz or Sun Tzu or any of the great military historians, he just swallows everything, he hook, line and sinker, and he's happy. Somebody keeps assuring him. And all this thing will blow like a bubble, it will just blow once the next war takes place. To think that it will not take place, my dear sirs, then you are living in a fool's paradise. It's going to take place. China will not tolerate a resurgent India. And after 62, when the Chinese won a victory, they have been needling India at every stage. Pakistan is out for revenge for the breakup of Pakistan and the creation of Bangladesh from East Pakistan. So India has got no stay really anywhere, and the situation all around is pretty hostile. Countries which were for years India's friends, like Nepal and Sri Lanka, are now talking a different tune. It's there for you to see. Sri Lanka has been very close to Pakistan, despite the fact that Pakistan was doing all the terrorist acts. They were the only nation who made a tour of Pakistan a cricket tour of Pakistan when other nations were scared to go there after the terrorist attack. And that was when the Sri Lanka team was there. They were attacked by terrorists, and still the Lankans are so happy to go there and play. One of their men got hammered, I mean, in the sense he was lynched to death and in charges of blasphemy. Lanka still continues to be pro-Pakistan. And when India requests that the Chinese ship not be allowed to dock, they do some jiggery-pooggery here, there, and the ship is allowed to come. Routinely, they keep on arresting about 50 to 100 fishermen, and India has no reaction. I remember when Vajpayee was the Prime Minister, about 15 soldiers of the BSF were shot dead by Bangladesh troops, the Bangladesh Rifles, in a border skirmish. And then these were tied on poles, the bodies like you tie these cows, and handed over to the Indians. Look at the old record and you will see it. And yet, at that time, I remember our Deputy Foreign Minister saying that Bangladesh is our friend. I mean, wonderful friend you have got. So it is about time, gentlemen. This is a warning video so that people can understand what is happening. We are now in a stage where India must assert itself if it wants to survive, or India can go down, become subservient. We have enough people in India who are ready to sell the country. So, gentlemen, I hope better sense will prevail. The government will rethink about the army. If you ask me, the army strength must be increased to at least 2 million with the latest weaponry, so that we can make an effect on the world. Will that happen? I don't think so, because we are so moribund in our thinking, and we have been constrained by 1,000 years of history, God saved the Indian Republic with a political leadership that has no vision. Thank you, gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed listening to this video. Like it, share it, and I wish you all the best, and goodbye. Jai Hind.